So let us always remember the highest goals of Ayurveda, much like the highest goal of yoga in all of the Vedic sciences that come from India, right? So, like David Frawley likes to say, yoga and Ayurveda are two sides of the same coin. Yoga is self-realization and Ayurveda is self-healing. So it's wonderful. These practices keep us healthy, right? They keep us flexible. They keep us nimble. That's amazing. They give us stamina. They give us energy. They give us what is called ojas, vital radiance, vital immunity. That's amazing. That's the lower goal of Ayurveda. It's a lower goal of yoga, right? If we approach these sciences just for their physical benefits, we are kind of taking the icing, but leaving the cake, right? Really, the ultimate goal of Ayurveda is let health not be an impediment for our journey towards moksha, spiritual liberation. Dharma artha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. So says Charaka in the Charaka Samhita. For the four pursuits in life known as purusharthas, right? We are all here. So Antonio started his program off with what is our dharma, right? Manifesting our dharma, right? Dharma, our purpose, our legacy, right? Dharma. Artha is how do we provide for ourselves? How do we put a roof over our head? Kama is sensory, sensual pleasures. And then moksha, right? Which is liberation. Dharma, artha, kama, mokshanam, arogyam, moolam, uttamam, he says. To pursue our four purusharthas, four goals, arogyam. Arogyam is the Sanskritam term for health. Moolam means of number one, prime. Uttama means importance. Health. Without health, we cannot pursue the four goals in life. How many of you will agree with me? How many of you have been ill or sick? Have you ever been ill or sick? What have you been, when you've been ill or sick, what do you think about? Do you think about moksha? Or are you thinking about getting better? Thinking about getting better. If you have a chronic condition, if you have a knee pain, if you have fibromyalgia, if you have arthritis, what are you thinking about? Your goal is to get better. So Ayurveda, yoga, Ayurveda removes impediments so that we remain healthy, so that we may move towards our ultimate goal of moksha, right? Okay. So path to what we call perfect health in Ayurveda parallels path to enlightenment, right? So to be even born we're born because of our karmas, right? Otherwise we would not be here. We would have escaped samsara, right? The cycle of birth and death, right? Okay. So Sushruta, who was the father of Ayurvedic surgery, he has a beautiful definition of health. So once again, driving home the point, this is mind, body, spirit medicine. It's actually spirit, mind, body medicine, right? Okay, we exist on three levels. We'll get into this in tomorrow's workshop. But we have our Karana Sharira, causal body, karmic body. Then we have our Sukshma Sharira, or our subtle body, energetic body, right? That's the Manovaha Shrota, right? That is the Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, right? And also the Pranamaya Kosha, which is a bridge between the gross Stula Sharira. And the third level of existence is Stula Sharira, which is more the Annamaya Kosha, the food sheet, right? So we have these three levels of existence. And causal, subtle, and today Ayurveda psychology is all about a discussion about the Sukshma Sharira, right? The subtle body, right? The mind, right? Okay. Personality, okay? Our gunas, right? Okay. And our tendencies, our samskaric patterns based on our karmas, right? That's what we're going to discuss, okay? And then, of course, we have the Stula Sharira, which is the physical body, okay? So what does Sushruta say? One, what is the definition of health? Who can be called a healthy person? The one who is established in self, and self with the higher self, right? The Atman, right? Not the Ahankara, which is lower self or ego. Who has balanced doshas. Vata, Pitta, Kapha is in balance for your constitution, your unique constitution. Balanced Agni, digestive fire. In our cleanse, we've been talking about Agni so much. We started off the satsanga before the cleanse with a discussion on digestion and the importance of Agni. Because we need balanced Agni to form the 7 dhatus or tissues. This is what we're made up of, 7 dhatus. What else do we need? Proper elimination of malas, waste products, urine, feces, and sweat. Properly functioning bodily processes, and whose mind, soul, and senses are full of bliss is called a healthy person. It's a very holistic definition of health. If you take a Western dictionary or like a Merriam-Webster dictionary, it'll tell you definition of health is absence of disease or illness, which is also one definition, but it's a very narrow definition. Here we have a much broader definition. So you can see, established in self, whose mind, soul, and senses are full of bliss is called a healthy person. And then there are some physical parameters of health as well, but we have the parameters of mind and spirit as well. Sanskritam is a beautiful language, and what is conveyed, like in so many words in English, is conveyed beautifully and poetically in Sanskritam, right? Sama means balance, right? Sama dosha, sama agnischa, sama dhatu malakriyaha, prasanna atma indriya manaha, swasta iti abhidyate, right? Sama dosha, balanced dosha, balanced agni, balanced dhatus, malakriyaha, kriyaha means elimination of malas. Prasanna, full of bliss. What is full of bliss? Atma, soul, indriya, senses. What does senses being full of bliss mean? It doesn't mean it's going outward. It is very satisfied. That is, we are practicing pratyahara, right? And what is also full of bliss? Manaha. Not because of some external circumstances, because it is in touch with its own self as divine being. Swasta, this we call swasta, healthy person. Please take that word home with you, swasta, and examine different points during your day, during your life. Are you established in self? That is what swasta means. Swa is self, self. Sta means established. And established in which self? Higher self. Right? Okay? Okay? Okay. So with that foundation, let us delve into psychology, the meaning, and let us compare and contrast Western psychology versus Ayurveda psychology. Okay? And then let's get into the nitty-gritty, the building block of Ayurvedic psychology. Okay? Are we doing good so far? So far, so good? Okay, great. Okay. So roots of Western psychology can actually be traced to Greek philosophy. And psychology started as a part of philosophy and became an independent discipline much later. So psyche means soul, logos means study of the soul, right? So philosophy in Sanskritam is known as darshana, right? Vision of the soul. And we have Shaddarshana, 6 philosophies from India: Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vedanta, Yoga, and Sankhya, right? So what we practice, most of us practice, is a combination of Yoga, Vedanta, and Sankhya, right? Okay? So Western psychology, again, there is a return to a more humanistic form of psychology, and there is there was an article in Psychology Today in 2016 or 2018 about how modern Western psychology is embracing Eastern practices like meditation and mindfulness, right? But for the most part, there's a dichotomy of the body and mind in Western psychology, right? And it emphasizes moving from subconscious to conscious awareness. Usually, an event or an events, like a triggering event takes place, and we'll talk more about this. And the focus is on understanding the core issue. Maybe the issue is an issue of abandonment or issue of trust, and something happened in childhood, that triggered the person to have certain tendencies and to behave a certain way, right? And so Western psychology aims to uncover that, unearth that, and provide therapies and tools so that the person can function, right? So the person has greater functionality and understanding of what happened, right? And Ayurveda psychology picks up where Western psychology leaves off. Like, we are not the story, but how can we process the story? How can we learn from it? And how can we transcend it, right? Okay. Because the understanding is we are not the body, we are not the mind, right? We are something much more greater, right? Which we are pure divinity, we are pure Atman, right? And Atman is untouched, right? It is untouched. It is the ever changeless, right? Okay? Untouched by the happenings and the goings and comings on in our life. Okay? So Western psychology has, their tools are processing and analysis of problems and or dreams, analytical talk therapy like Jungian therapy, right? Again, I'm no expert on Western psychology. So again, just contrasting Western psychology versus Ayurvedic psychology, right? And the therapies are behavioral, creative, like dance as therapy, art as therapy, music as therapy, intellectual, work, like similar somewhat like Swadhyaya, body work, breath work, and mindfulness, right? Okay. And again, humanistic psychology adopts a more holistic view. There's not so much the dichotomy of the body is separate from the mind. So they adopt a more holistic view through explorations of meaning, human potential, and self-actualization, right? So there is a movement towards embracing some of the Eastern modalities of healing, right? Okay. Ayurvedic psychology emphasizes moving from conscious awareness to transcendence, right? To transcendence. And transcending the core issue, right? So rather than getting caught up with, yes, this happened to me, this is the reason, why it happened to me, but learning from it and also moving past it and transcending it, right? Okay, so we are not we are not what happened to us, right? Okay. So we get this by greater understanding of the self, right? By understanding who we truly are, right? As long as we are associated with the ego, we are caught up with the vicissitudes and the drama, right? And the drama. When we really understand that we are pure divine source, divine self, pure self, and there is only one consciousness, there is only one presence. We have that innate sense of joy, peace, and bliss. But this is not something we get to. It takes us lifetimes, depending on where we are on our journey, based on our karma, and also based on the state of our guna, which we will talk about, which is an important building block of our Ayurvedic personality. Where are we on the continuum of sattva, rajas, tamas, right? So that will determine where we are on the continuum of not just finding ourselves, but becoming what Lord Krishna says, a sthita pragya, right? Sthita pragya, right? Who's a sthita pragya, right? One who is established in the self, right? A Jivan Mukta, right? One who is liberated while living, right? They have attained, like, we're talking about gurus, we're talking about great jnanis, we're talking about yogis who can be truly called yogis, right? One who has attained yoga is a yogi, right? Okay. But we are on this journey, right? Whether it takes one lifetime or a million lifetimes, this is that moksha, right? So we're not just limited to dharma, artha, kama. Those of us who are spiritual seekers, we have started on this ladder. Some of us may be on the first rung, but at least we've started on this journey. And the tools are meditation, self-observation, self-inquiry, working with our sukshma sharira. So we work with our nadis, we work with our chakras. So tomorrow we will, you will understand these 7 energy centers of transformation that exist along our spinal column, the energetic template of the spinal column known as Sushumna Nadi. And these centers affect us physically, they affect us emotionally, they affect us psychologically, but most importantly, they serve as portals for spiritual transcendence, spiritual enlightenment, right? So we will understand these 7 energy centers. Yeah, okay. We have 72,000 nadis. And each one of these nadis has a name in Sanskritam, right? So when you see that pranayama chart, the blue chart with the yellow drawing with yellow nadis, each one of the 72,000 nadis has a name. And why is that? Because the energetic body is so important. It is the bridge between the Karana Sharira and the Sthula Sharira. We think disease happens in the physical body. Disease happens. It can start with the causal body, then move to the energetic body, or all disease is perceived as disturbance of prana. So when we work with subtle therapies, like sound therapies, using bija mantras for chakras, when we work with aromatherapy, when we work with color therapy, they may be subtle therapies, but their effect is very powerful. Right? For the gross body, we will work with food, like we worked in the cleanse and, we're eating sattvic food here as well. So for the physical body, we eat constitutionally appropriate diet, and that's one modality of healing. For the sukshma sharira, the energetic body, we work with these subtle therapies, but they're very powerful, right? And pranayama, of course, pranayama is everything. Chanting, meditation, everything that we are doing here, right? Self-observation, self-inquiry, swadhyaya, atma vichara, right? Constantly examining, our thoughts, words, and actions, right? Thoughts, words, and actions. These generate karma. Okay, so we'll talk a little more about it. It's not just actions or words, right? So therapies are multisensory and behavioral. So we talked about the sound therapy, we talked about aromatherapy, we talked about color therapy, right? And also behavioral, again, the self-observation, the self-inquiry, right? Constantly, examining our behaviors and tendencies and patterns, okay? And our triggers as well, okay? So once again, Western psychology is all about the story, and Ayurvedic psychology is how do we process the story, how can we learn from it in most cases, and how do we transcend it? Okay, how do we transcend it? We are not our story. Okay. So building blocks of Ayurvedic personality, right? So first and foremost, we look at what are called our samskaras. Samskaras are deep-seated tendencies. How do we react, right? These are, so our karmas, our past life karmas, set the template for our samskaras, our tendencies, okay? And these apply to our thoughts, our words, and actions. And then we have the different doshic personality types. But we peel it one layer. Before the doshas, we have the elements with their gunas or qualities. So what are doshas? Doshas are nothing but the pancha mahabhutas that is in all of us and in everything around us. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm, that is nature. There's a beautiful poem in the Upanishads. As is the atom, so is the universe. As is the smallest unit, so is the biggest unit, right? As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. We look at the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements. The 5 great elements, along with their gunas, form the doshas, the 3 great doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. We will limit our inquiry into the doshas, just personality type, not body type, not how your appetite is or how your elimination is or sleep pattern is. Because we're just looking at Ayurveda psychology, we'll look at our psychological characteristics, personality types, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Plus our state of consciousness, which is guna, sattva, rajas, tamas. Where are we on this continuum of sattva, rajas, tamas, right? We come into this world with a certain level, right? Again, based on past life karma, right? Again, we can transcend it. Those of, that we have many renunciates here, right? So they are on this path of sattva, right? They are on the path of sattva. They've decided to be on this path of sattva, right? But those of us who are grahasthas, who are householders, we too can bring these practices into our home, into our lives, into our relationships, right? How we live, right? Again, karmas are generated, thoughts generate karma, words generate karma, actions obviously generate karma, right? So even if we think, even if we don't say anything, even if we don't act on it, we generate karma, okay? So these are the building blocks of Ayurvedic personality. Is that clear? And this is what we're going to delve into, okay? So let's talk about samskaras. But before that, I do want to say Charaka has another great quote. Cause of dis-ease, disharmony, means not abiding in self, right? Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Rajas and Tamas. Only sattva does not cause disease. Because what did Shruta say? Definition of health. Yes, he said balance doshas, balance Agni, balance Sattva, but he said one who's established in self. Right? Okay. This is why perfect health parallels path to moksha. Okay. So we're pretty clear on sattva, rajas, tamas. We will get into it. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. Is anybody not know the gunas? Anybody would like a 1-minute primer on sattva, rajas, tamas? Anyone? Okay, we have a few people. Okay, great. So I'm going to drop on the analogy that my mentor, Dr. Mark Halpern, has for sattva, rajas, tamas. Okay. Imagine a clear lake. Think of a beautiful lake that's very dear to you. Okay? For me, Tenaya Lake in Upper Yosemite comes to mind. It's up the high Sierras. Very beautiful lake. Imagine the lake on a clear day. No wind. The lake is going to be reflecting the beauty around it. Right? Okay? That is sattva. When we are reflecting the light of God within us. When that light shines through in our actions, in our thoughts, in our words. Right? That is sattva. Let's say somebody comes along, puts a pebble in that lake. What happens? Ripples, vrittis, turbulence, rajas. Let's say we meditated, we did yoga, we did pranayama, we said prayers, we're feeling amazing. We get a phone call, or our partner or spouse says something, our child says something, somebody cuts us off on the freeway. What happens? We react, right? So that's rajas. Now rajas also causes us to do activity, okay? Then the ripples settle down, and we may even have that recognition, right? So I'll give you an example. I was listening to Swami Sarvapriyananda, who I was introduced to by the Swamis and Swaminis and Brahmacharis in this ashram. So I've been listening to him and following him and studying, learning from him for a few years now. So I listened to him in the car as well. So I was driving somewhere and I was listening to a talk by Swami Sarvapriyananda. He's an amazing Vedantin monk of the Ramakrishna order, right? And so I think I was listening to his talk on one of the Upanishads, or maybe it was Bhagavad Gita. And I was driving, and there was this guy who came in his truck, and I was just on a surface road, but I think maybe I was going too slow for him. So he honks at me and he drives really fast and cuts in front of me, really aggressively, right? So immediately, I have a gut reaction, right? Like to honk my horn and to say, because what he did was, what you would consider rude, right? And then it was just a split second, right? There's just that split second which makes a difference between, are you responding or are you reacting, right? So I just had that split second moment because, of course, my samskaric pattern wanted me to react a certain way. But then the irony wasn't lost on me because I was listening to a beautiful Vedanta talk by this monk. And yet, I'm listening to it, right? So I'm just doing like the, Shravana, right? But, we know the 3 steps are Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm listening to him talk, his beautiful talk on really everything. All the Upanishads, everything's about finding self, right? And yet I wanted to react, right? So which means the samskaric patterns are so deep, right? So I didn't react, but the tendency was there at the surface, right? So it is always there. It's always present. So that's rajas. Now let's say somebody comes, brings a big stick and they stir the bottom of the lake. What happens to the water? It's murky. So rajas, we have a reflection of God, but then the proverbial pebble comes along, we get flustered, turbulence sets in. We might apologize, we might realize we made a mistake. We may say sorry. We may say, we may do some Atma Vichara Swadhyaya. That was my samskaric pattern. That is always a trigger. Maybe next time I will do something different. I will think differently. I will act differently, right? Okay. So that is how we antidote our samskaras, right? So, and then again, then we abide in God, or, we reflect the light of God within us. Now, when somebody comes and stirs the bottom of the lake, we are tamas, there's darkness, there's ignorance, there's inertia, there is no recognition of divinity within or divinity without, right? And usually when we get tamasic, we are prone to, harming ourselves or harming others. We may choose to, abuse substances like alcohol or drugs or even food, right? So there's a dullness, right? There is just absolutely no recognition of God and no inertia to even seek our higher self. Does that make sense? Is that clear on the gunas? For those of you who didn't know, sattva, rajas, tamas? Yeah? Okay. So Charaka says only sattva does not cause disease because that's when we really abide in ourself, right? Okay. Karma is action, right? It's also the fruits of our action, right? From previous lifetimes, there are different types of karma, right? Prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, agami karma. But, the karma sets the stage for our samskaras, our tendencies in this lifetime. How we act, our personality characteristics, how we react, okay? These are our tendencies, okay? And examine that. We all have our tendencies, our patterns. It's good to examine that, right? Deep-seated impressions, right? Okay, and tendencies. They motivate our basic actions and feelings. And they attract experiences into our lives that allow us to grow and learn. So sometimes we find ourselves, or we'll find people saying, oh my God, that keeps happening to me again and again and again. Why does it happen to me? Right? Samskaric patterns, right? So, and if we can look at it from that sense of, learning from it and transcending it, right? That's what Ayurveda psychology is. And in doing so, we can heal our karma by antidoting samskaras, right? So if I had gotten mad at that guy and, honked at him and, that would have been more of the same, right? Going back to my previous samskaric patterns. So that split-second decision. But that split second doesn't happen in the spur of the moment. That split second, that is like yoga off the mat, right? Yoga on the mat prepares you for yoga off the mat, right? So meditation, sadhana, prayer, the more inner work we are doing, more of the spiritual tools we engage in on a day-to-day basis are abhyasa, right? Abhyasa and Vairagya go hand in hand, according to Patanjali, right? Vairagya is that dispassion, not being stoic, not reacting, right? Being able to respond. Vairagya doesn't come with assiduous self-effort and practice, which is abhyasa, daily practice, right? Okay. So, does this make sense on samskaras, our tendencies, and how we can antidote them? One thought, one word, one action at a time. Okay. Building block of our personality. Okay. So again, contemplate. This is something you can take with you. What are your patterns? What are your tendencies? Okay. And there may be good tendencies and there are tendencies which may not serve you. So find out which, is it sattvic tendency, rajasic tendency, or is it a tamasic tendency, right? Use that as a lens. Okay. Okay. Think we said that. Okay. Recognizing, transcending samskaras. Let's talk about elements, the building blocks of personality, and we'll finish up there. Because Panchamahabhutas make up the 3 great doshas. But in Ayurveda psychology, we peel it one layer because Vata dosha, which is made up of air and ether, air personality can be different from an ether personality, right? And as we go through this, I want you to think of yourself or somebody you know and see which one of these elemental personalities you're made up of, okay? So this is all about you. Ayurveda is like our user manual. It tells Ayurveda is about, what is it? It's the science of life. It's wisdom of life and living, right? We're talking about us here. So see where you are. Okay. What's your personality type based on the elements? Okay. So based on our karma, samskaric patterns, which come from our karma, the 5 elements, Panchamahabhutas, are utilized to build the subtle structure of a person's personality, because we're made up of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata, Pitta, Kapha are made up of the elements with their associated gunas or qualities. So the etheric personality, what are the gunas? There are 20 gunas and 10 pairs of opposite. For our understanding, we will just use a few. Ether, Akasha, space. Ether is everything in this room that connects us, but we don't see it. We can't grasp it. Ether is cold. All elements except fire are cold. Ether is light. Ether is expansive. Ether is soft, flowing, and subtle, right? That's what space is, right? It's kind of nebulous, yeah? Okay. There's a dreamlike quality to ether, right? So when my plane was flying into Nassau, whenever you're between the, we were between the clouds and the water, the sky and the water. There was just an etheric, magical quality about it, right? So, we're flying up, right? So I have some pictures of some celebrities because, we all know them, I suppose. So, I think most of the celebrities, but you see, just the woman on the right, she's, even her eyes have like a far away look, Okay. Etheric personality, right? They're not of this world, right? People with a lot of ether make excellent clairvoyants, psychics and mediums, right? Because ether is not about earth. Ether is about all other dimensions, right? Okay. So the etheric personality is dreamy, soft-spoken, elusive. They see few limits because ether is expansive. There are no, boundaries. Provide little resistance, floats on the air, head in the clouds sometimes. We can tell, there's an expression. Sometimes we tell people your head is in the clouds, right? You're not realistic. You're not grounded in reality. Low intensity. People with predominantly etheric personality tend to be passive and they get spacey, right? Akasha is space. So too much, right? And how do we get imbalance? Based on diet and lifestyle, right? Nidana, cause of disease. Imbalance is diet and lifestyle, okay? Spacey. So what are the imbalances? If you have a lot of ether, you can become ungrounded. You can become unrealistic. Spacey, distracted, and lack of follow-through, right? So, kana literally head in the clouds, okay? And we'll talk about how to balance. In a nutshell, how do we balance in Ayurveda? All of Ayurvedic healing rests on this simple yet profound principle. Opposites are the cure for opposites. So if you have a lot of ether in your personality, ground yourself. Ground yourself with a morning abhyanga with warm sesame oil. Have a nice breakfast of oatmeal, right? And so on and so forth. Work on your first chakra, which is elemental energy is earth, and the deity for the first chakra is Lord Ganesha. It doesn't get more grounded than Lord Ganesha, right? He's the elephant god. So you can chant a Ganesha mantra, right? Okay, so just keep planting seeds here. Okay, but more to come. Okay. And we'll look at more grounding in terms of the doshic personalities, which we'll delve into tomorrow. Okay. Air is cold, light, mobile, flowing, and subtle. I want you to pay attention. Air is mobile. This is what makes air a mischief maker. Vata dosha is considered king of doshas because it's made up of air and ether, because air is unpredictable. This mobile nature of Vata, which is because of the air, makes it very unpredictable. So Charaka says in Charaka Samhita that Vata dosha imbalance causes 75 to 80% of diseases out there. Right? And Vata dosha also governs nervous system. Anywhere there is movement is governed by Vata. Okay? So those of us lot more air, lot more Vata, we need to work harder at balancing our dosha and building ojas and maintaining ojas. Okay. So I have another actor here, again, personality, physicality wise, he looks Vata, but there's just like a lightness. There's a lightness. There's a lot of movement and gesticulation with the airy personality. Okay. Like that bat. Bubbly. What? It's a butterfly? Oh, then it is? It's a moth? Okay. Okay, we say Vata archetype. Tomorrow we'll see it's a butterfly. So there, we have our air personality. Vata. Bubbly, air types. Bubbly, enthusiastic, life of the party. Talkative, vivacious. Very quick to react. Right? Get overwhelmed. Like, oh my God. Nervous. But they're also spontaneous and they're creative. Right? So these are all positive. Again, when in balance, lots of beautiful qualities of the elements and the doshas. Imbalances, those of us with a lot of air, we tend to become impulsive. So spontaneous is a good thing. Impulsive, not so good. Right? Not all the time. Prone to worry, right? Anxiety, excess thoughts, overwhelmed, overreactive. Irritated and can be irritating also, okay? Or irritable. Speaks very fast and sometimes rambles. So there's no connection, there's no continuity of thought. And so consequently, there's no continuity of speech. Yeah? Okay? So air, ground. Same thing, just abhyanga, oatmeal, eating warm, nourishing foods, right? Okay. Working with the first and second chakra. Second chakra is water. very grounding. Fire personality. Fire personality is they're passionate, they're intense, and they embody these qualities mainly of that heat and sharpness and clarity. There is so much clarity to fire, right? Very clear on their goals. I have activists. I have Vandana Shiva. Everybody know who Vandana Shiva is? She's like a celebrated eco-feminist. She's a one-woman tour de force against Monsanto and Cargill in India. I highly recommend you visit Navdanya, her eco-village sanctuary, eco-farm up in Dehradun, the foothills of the Himalayas. It's a beautiful place. And so she has the element of fire. She's been an activist for all her life. She's, I think, in her 60s now. All her life. Okay? Tirelessly working towards not, not, what do you say, capitalizing the food, the agricultural economy or the sector in India, right? Because Monsanto, Cargill, they want to come, they want to sell their seeds. It's all, GMO, hybridized, and then, they make farmers buy seeds, and you know the story, right? And then we have Oprah Winfrey, right? Just a very strong personality. She's built an empire, and, this is fire. Fire is what kind of makes it happen. Air has lots of ideas. Vata has a lot of ideas, but Pittas kind of make it happen, right? They kind of make it happen. Sometimes Vatas cannot follow through. They cannot make it happen. But fire, the fire personality are the movers and shakers. Okay, they're the leaders. Okay, so Vatas are the creative types. Air and ether are the creative types. They make excellent mediums and healer. Fire personalities become leaders. Okay, activists, change makers, change agents. Because of this, focused, direct, goal-oriented, passionate, magnetic, which is why they make great leaders. They have charisma. They're very organized, and they have a very strong sense of discernment, right? Discrimination, okay? Imbalance, abrasive, angry, judgmental, arrogant, intense. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. Right? Okay. I see some people taking notes. I'm again happy to send the presentation to Narayani Chaitanya for all the 4 days. So you have it, the PDF. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll finish up with water and earth. Water is dense, cold, moist, and heavy. These are the qualities of water. So consequently, we have I just have some pictures here of actresses. Okay, so again, so they embody some of the physicality of it. So, okay, more Kapha Dosha, because Kapha Dosha is water and earth. Okay, so the water personality, soft, sentimental, gentle, kind of going with the flow because of the water, right? So fire, I didn't say, how do we antidote fire? Cooling, calming foods, working on the heart chakra, this is ether, subtle ether, causal ether, working on these 3 chakras, bringing in the element of ether, cooling, calming foods, abhyanga with cool oils, okay? Okay, and lunar pranayama, shitali, shitkari, okay? Back to water. Gentle and kind. They're very relationship oriented. They like cohesion, so they'll bring people together. They're like the glue in the family, if you will. Dependable, devoted, very compassionate and empathetic as well. Okay. But what happens when they're imbalanced? They get overly sentimental, overly emotional. They can be in codependent relationship, right? Do we know what codependency is? Not healthy relationships. Yeah. Overly attached. Overly controlling, like smothering, right? And they may be prone to sadness or melancholy. Okay. So we dry them up. We work with like the Nabi chakra. We work with Ram, like that's fire, right? The mantra is fire. We can work with solar pranayama. We work with, light drying foods. Okay. And finally you have earth. Earth is heavy. It's dull. It's dense. It's very stable. It's grounding. Earth, we also call it as ground, right? My favorites, my favorite people on this planet, Amma, the hugging saint. Many of you know who she is. So she embodies like an earth personality, but sattvic, right? So she's a teacher, she's a guru. Okay. And earth personality, when not in when in balance, very stable, grounded, practical, quiet, very loving and compassionate. But when not in balance, become very complacent, set in their ways, inertia sets in, slow to understand, slow to react, lethargic, complacency, and resistance to change. Okay? So I think that's a good stopping point. And so these are the 3 great doshas we'll explore tomorrow and their personality types. And 10 imbalances and how do we balance them. But tomorrow's workshop, we will get into how to balance our personality types using the magic of chakras and bija mantras and other therapies to balance your chakras, right? Including foods to eat for each chakra, aromatherapy for each chakra, and so on. So I thank you all so much. Maybe if there is a question or two, I'm happy to take it. But I know that was a lot, so thank you for your patience. So, yes. Anyone? There's a question there in the back.
Thank you very much for that. That was very informative.
Oh, you're welcome.
You have a beautiful style about you, and it's very, very fun to listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is, when you look at those personalities, I'm sure people have the similar feeling too sometimes, that you mix into different. You have few qualities from different ones.
Absolutely. Combination of the Panchamahabhutas, which means we are a combination of the doshic archetype also, but one or more dosha predominates. So for me, Vata and Pitta predominate in my personality. My imbalances are Vata dosha in my personality. So, yes. And we'll get into, are you coming to the workshops and the satsanga tomorrow?
No, we're leaving tomorrow, but I was just curious.
Okay. And I'm happy to send the presentation, but know that, and that was your question. Are we a combination? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Dr. David Frawley has a wonderful book on Ayurveda psychology, and he has a questionnaire on Ayurveda psychology and your gunas as well. So I highly recommend that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Or of course, you can see an Ayurveda practitioner in your area as well. So, yeah. Yes. Pooja.
Is the dosha of the personality separate from the dosha of the body?
Excellent question. There are, when I do client assessments, there are times when there is a difference from their body presentation of doshas versus their personality. But more often than not, they correlate. But sometimes there is a difference. Great question. Awesome. Yes. We'll take one more because we don't want to delay past 9:45, right? So, right? Yes. Okay. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
The lecture was amazing already, and
thank you.
I'm already excited for the next couple of days.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I am studying psychology in my master's program currently.
Amazing. And so I could learn from you also.
I I really find this intriguing.
Yes.
And I feel like my question's slipping, so let me get to it. What would be any practical ways that I could achieve to learning more? Is there any certification in order to
so
apply?
you're coming to the workshops and stuff. We can talk more.
Yes, of
my
course.
alma mater is the California College of Ayurveda.
Yes.
Dr. Halpin is amazing. So we can, there are wonderful schools of Ayurveda where you can deepen your study.
Of course. Just
Yes.
wanted to give that question a heads up.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone.